Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back for another killer episode. Today is going to be one that's been in the works for a little bit. Me and my good buddy Shan Twit, we've been back and forth. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back for another great episode. Super stoked to have you guys joining us. Today, I'm joined by my good buddy, Mr. Shan Twit. I'm sure a lot of you guys have listened to some of our past episodes together. Always enjoy talking with this guy, one of my great friends. And we're going to talk about his most recent success, which was in early season in Kentucky. Awesome story. Amazing. We're going to get from like start to finish with this deer. Shan had a ton of history with this buck, and there's a lot to learn in this one specifically about just staying on top of a buck, a specific buck at that, and, understanding your goals, what you got going on, and taking, your success from last fall and just, keeping that energy throughout the season. So without spoiling it, it's a great episode. Stoked to have you guys joining us. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors that make this possible. Osseo Gear. Guys, if you're looking for any new camo or looking to upgrade your late season gear, use code RUNGUN20 at checkout. Save yourself 20%. I hope you guys jumped on the Black Friday sales that we had recently. I know there was a ton of good stuff going on. So yeah, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving too. We got to follow up from that. As far as our other sponsors go, if you want to start filming your hunts cheaper and in a great way with your phones, make sure you check out Painted Arrow Outdoors. Use code RUNNGUN15 and save 15% at checkout. Huge thanks to Lone Wolf Custom Gear and Timberwolf Supply Company. Hope you guys are following along on the journey and all keeping up to date with all these guys. Also, if you haven't, I'm sure if you're followers of the podcast, we just dropped our video from the job site Giant on YouTube. Hope you guys can check that out. Hope you enjoy it. It's got a lot of highs and lows in that one, and stay tuned because I'm working on the video for my 8, and I'm really, really excited about that. It's probably the best footage I've ever laid down in my life. So enough about that. Let's get into our quote of the week, and we'll jump into today's episode. This one's from Alex Hermosi. Really like this one, and I hope you guys do too. Alex says, "Winners define themselves by what they made happen. Losers define themselves by what happened to them." Hope that hits you. Hope you like that one. Let's get into today's episode with my good buddy, Mr. Shan Twit. Well, we are back again with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Shan Twit. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, man.
Good to see you, man. I'm glad we got together for this one. We've been talking about this for a while. Obviously, November is the most difficult time to get diehard hunters here on the podcast, and I apologize to all you guys listening. It's been a wild ride the past couple of weeks here in November, just grinding. And this weekend that we're recording this, I was supposed to be in Kansas, but unfortunately we got snowed out. And I made a hard decision to just turn around and decided to come back and stay with the family instead of having them get snowed in. So, hopefully my Kansas journey is not over. But, I was really, really excited to get out there and kind of get in some late rut action. I know the weather was right. Everything was right. But it is what it is. Sometimes timing is not perfect. So it's just one of those things.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, for you, we're gonna get into today's story with Shan's most recent success in Iowa, or in Iowa. Wow, I'm getting thrown off here. In Kentucky, his early season kill, and then we're also going to share some thoughts on our strategies for December killing, and hopefully help you guys get on a good late season buck if you still got a tag. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to learn here from this one. Shan had a really cool journey with this buck specifically, and I'm super excited to get into the details on it. So without further ado, I see we ought to get started with this one, man. Where would you like to start?
Well, thanks for having me again, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I've never put more effort into pursuing and documenting one particular buck, nor have had as many sleepless nights that my wife can attest to, than Coke can. And the story for this deer began November 8th, as soon as I tagged out on my buck last fall. And I was observing him with both trail cameras, drone over the plots, and then in person hunts while on doe hunt management hunts. I'd see him, and I'm glad that I didn't get him because he was one of my target bucks. But I ended up killing a deer that was a year older and bigger in body and more aggressive, believe it or not. So, and that hunt aired on the Pursuit Channel with Team 200. So that was a blessing. It was a really exciting hunt. But I'm glad I didn't tag him because he put on 32 inches in 1 year from 2024 to this year, and it was exciting. Um, I'd watch him. I'd watch him in my food plots and on the neighbors' fields, and I'd watch him on trail camera, and just every night, just plotting and strategizing on how I'd kill this deer. Hopefully in the early season. And he dropped his sheds on February 18th, but I couldn't get in there to get after him until the 20th. So of course, you're nervous, like, is a coyote going to pick him up or the tree rat's going to, chew him up, but I was able to get out there, um, on the 20th, and I only had 45 minutes because I was seeing patients until 5 o'clock. So by the time I got out there, um, I didn't have much daylight. So the next day, I was out there first thing, yeah, late morning, and I picked them both up on the 21st, 15 yards apart. So here they are. I'll have to back up the camera here.
Make
Here's
sure you
this.
guys, if you can, try to tune in on the YouTube for this one because we're going to have a lot of good visuals
Yeah,
from sheds
back up
to
the camera
wrecks
here.
and
Sitting in the other
the
room
whole
here.
the whole story.
So here's his sheds.
And the
And
sheds are way more impressive in person than they might look here on video, too, to be honest with you guys, because I'm very fortunate. Me and Sean are really good friends. And man, like, I'll be honest with you, the bases, what did the bases measure on those, Sean?
this one's a little bit 5 1/4, and this one's 6 1/8. Yep. So good
But it
mass
looks
on
like,
them.
yeah, just a really, like a beautiful 10 point, like not
Yeah.
overly impressive, but super heavy mass and good tines. Like, it got
Yeah.
everything. Just a beautiful 10 pointer. And I remember, the journey with you on this deer. I gotta say, I mean, obviously, I know a ton of successful hunters, and I'm good friends with many of them. But this deer, for some reason, just like Sean was all over this deer, like from last season all through the summer into this year, and I knew he was going to kill him. Like, and I was really excited to be semi a part of this journey with him because he wasn't disclosing too much with everybody. It was kind of like, all right, what do you think? What
Uh-uh.
do you think? So it's really cool to be so much a part of the journey for this buck particularly. And I remember getting the phone call the day you found those sheds too, which was even cooler. You were like, went in, you were like, he just dropped, went in, found them, can't find them fresher than you did, right? I mean, what were they? Maybe a day old.
Like, eh, about a day and a half old. Yeah, they had blood on both bases. The second one, he dropped his right side first, and I know that because it was covered in snow, and we got a fresh blanket of snow, maybe 3 inches. So it was covered up. The beams were covered, but the brows, twos, three, and four were exposed. But then his left side, the bigger side with the bigger base, was just wet red. I mean, like, he just dropped. He must have carried the left side for another 12 hours or something like that. But he dropped them both within about 15, 18 yards. Yeah.
You
So
found them
because
in
he
his
was bedding
bedding
right there.
area. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And, it's worth noting that when your farm lays out properly, you've got good thermal cover, water, food. I mean, he or she who has the food controls the herd, right? And you can manage the herd. But if you don't have late season good quality food source, close to bedding, you can't observe these deer and put a pattern on and put a strategy together for both early and late season of the following hunting season, right? So you have to have water, food, and cover all in a small area because just like in the summer months and early fall, the big dogs, they don't like to move very far. They have a very strict bed to feed, feed to bed
Yeah.
pattern. So 75% or more of the good bedding habitat in October, September, October is gone by, early to mid December. So if you don't have a lot in a small area, it's really hard to put a plan together by observing and seeing what that buck's pattern is,
Mhm.
so that's the key.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and I mean, that farm particularly just has got every single thing you could imagine. It's got cover, really good food because you plant really good food plots, and you got water. And I think that is a huge factor that plays into this because, like we have talked about, and I think this year, especially in Kentucky, where I lived at, EHD hits so hard in that area, and it's
Mhm.
because they just don't have good flowing water. They just,
Flowing water.
yeah,
That's it.
it's the
Yeah.
problem. There's tons of old ag ponds and stuff like that, but man, when they dry out, it's like those deer are in for they're in trouble.
Yeah.
We have lakes nearby, but um a lot of times, they're letting the water out of these lakes and they're very minimal. That just turns all the big creeks that normally have standing water in them go bone dry into
Uh-huh.
season. So it's a tough thing that, also for when you're planning out of state trips, something to consider. River bottoms can be the thing you need to look for when EHD is starting to hit. So something to consider.
Exactly. Yeah, like on the other farms I hunt besides, where I killed coke can, I'll put in a lot of water tanks, plastic water tanks, because with a plastic water tank, you don't have the problems with the midges being exposed with the receding water line, right? So as it drops down, you just refill it and you don't have, as much of a problem.
Now, do you think that that's kind of an issue with going in and out of these properties? Like, as much as, because I'm going to be very honest, it kind of like made me reconsider some of the thoughts that I had seeing how much you go in and out of your properties. Cause it's like we look at these things and we're like, man, like I don't want to overpressure my property, but there's a fine line between overpressure and getting the deer accustomed to you doing habitat improvements. Where did you kind of learn how to draw the line on that? Like between minimal intrusion and still doing what you need to do.
So there's a difference between having sanctuaries where you have zero aggravation, zero intrusion, and places that deer expect to see humans, like, near open fields, near roads, railroad crossings, where they expect to hear, see, and smell humans, right? Like places where I put the water tanks are places where I can easily drive the pickup truck right to it, empty the water, and then get out. And I hunt with the outs like the spokes of a wheel. And I recommend this to all consulting clients too, is, hunt from the outside in, especially in the early season. There's no reason to go anywhere near the inner sanctum of your property where deer bed and where they feel comfortable feeding. If you can observe from a distance and scout from a distance, right? So, like when I come into a property, I'm not going into the hearth of the property. There's certain areas I won't walk into until mid-February when it's time to, like, pick up sheds. Like
Right.
I just don't go in there for
Yeah.
any reason. And yeah, and so the places where I'm putting water tanks are places that are far removed from any areas that's sensitive, doe bedding areas, pinch point funnels, scrape edges. Like I avoid all that stuff. Places where it's close enough where I expect to pull deer when they get up off their bed to want to hit that lush, succulent green, and or that water source, especially early in the season, but not so close that I'm going to be pushing them out of the neighbors.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I think there's a lot
Yep.
to learn there. And this one, especially, guys, too, is like another good, like, you know, smaller parcel land management, podcast as well. So, I mean, there's a lot that you can take away from and do some improvements on this. But all right. So you find his sheds. We're starting to build that game plan. What's going through your mind at this point? Like, he's on your property. He was there all last fall. Like, what's the thought process that went into keeping him on your ground throughout the year?
Well, I wanted to make sure that when, see, like going back to January, December and January was when I actually first laid eyes on him in December of 2024. I mean, I got pictures of him all over the farm. But when Fresh showed up onto some of my main food plots, he just was MIA because Fresh was a more smaller rack, but bigger body and bigger attitude. So he bumped him out of the area. But the moment I shot him, within 48 hours, Coke can was back on the farm in all the old haunts. Okay. and he was now the top dog. Oh, uh, I would go in and, on 2 occasions, I didn't take a bow, even though I definitely wanted to fill the freezer with some more does. I just took the old Canon, and I was just filming, and, I got him on, camera, I think it was December 18th, and, he was still dogging does like it was November 6th. I mean, just like crazy. So, I was watching him a lot, filming him, filmed him a couple times in December and January with the drone over the food sources. And then trying to figure out, okay, like I know in September, August, September, he's going to probably do the same or very similar things as he is as he is in December, January, right? I'm not a big fan of November. I love it. It's exciting. I love it, just like everybody, right? But that's not the time to kill like your target buck, in my opinion, because they don't know what they're doing from 1 minute to the next, let alone months in advance, right? So if I can figure out what he's going to do in December, January, that's probably where he's gonna be August, September, and I can like that was the game plan. So I'd watch from a distance, and I did go on a couple doe hunts, on this one part of the farm. I assumed that he was not gonna be there, and I brought the bow, and I shot a doe that night. No, I did not shoot a doe that night. I shot a doe off that same stand the week later, but, um, I go in there thinking I'd be safe to be in that part of the farm, and then I see him. He's trailing the doe like it was the first part of November. I was like, "Man," and
Yeah.
I remember how long his body and how big, well over 200 pounds,
Mhm.
in December, 225, just, like, big. I was surprised that the other buck was pushing him out of the area as big of a body as he had.
You think it was,
But
like, more of a docile buck? Like, he just didn't
well,
have that aggressive nature in him like that other
it's
one did?
well, if he was, he just wasn't aggressive with the
With
fresh. Like
him?
they all have different
Huh.
personalities, like you and I. Like
Right.
some are introverts, extroverts, some are homebodies, some travel quite a bit. Um, but he didn't want to leave the area. But as soon as fresh moved in, like he was just like, I don't need to deal with this. I'm out. Like he just was
Yeah.
gone.
Right.
And you can see that on trail cameras. You don't have to observe that in person. You can see, the frequency and where they
Mhm.
are, and it tells you a lot about their personalities and how often they're hitting a certain spot, and you can see them chasing other bucks and does on cameras and stuff. Like you can get you can get their picture. You can kind of get a feel for how they are, right? But I was watching him from a distance and trying to put a plan together already starting December. Um, yeah,
Yeah. So
but yeah,
yeah,
so I
so what would
but so
you
I hung a reveal in May, okay,
okay.
and I was hoping to I hung a reveal in May along a drainage that is on the southwest corner of the farm, and in anticipation of him showing back up mid to late summer, back on the farm in that part of the farm to kind of settle in for as his home range, like he did the year before, right? And on June 2nd, I actually got a picture of him walking back, a video on the reveal on 10-second mode. I got him coming back to the bed a month after, almost a month to the day from when I hung the camera, and he's coming through. And I love when you plan way in advance. It's like, and
And
it
that
comes
yeah,
together. It's
that's
so
a cool
rewarding, right?
it is,
It's like,
yeah.
damn, here he is at like June
Mhm.
2nd.
Right.
And I didn't get too excited about that though, because I know that he wasn't there to stay in June. Like he was going to leave. And sure enough, I didn't get his picture again until August 5th. So June to July, it was 2 months later, I got pictures of him again. But because when he came in June, my beans were only about 3.5 weeks old. Okay. Too early to plant turnips. The beans were just taking off. And I had two cameras on a creek crossing, one on a mock scrape already, and then three surrounding the plot. And his mugshot wasn't on any of those cameras. So I knew it just like it was a transient, like just he was just out moving through. He wasn't staying. So he didn't know those food plots were there yet. But when he came back in August 5th, every day he was there. Like he knew that the food was there. And I've got video of him with the drone chasing and sparring deer like in August. Like
Mhm.
he's like, this is my buffet. This is mine. And he was so big, 300
Yeah.
pounds. He was
No, he's
so
a
big,
giant deer.
monster.
Yeah.
And he did not tolerate he was 6 years old this year,
Mhm.
and he was not tolerating the existence of any other buck. Yeah.
So, I mean, now you're in August
Now I'm in
and
August,
we're
and
getting all these pictures of him. I mean, I know
all these
because 'cause I'm
pictures.
getting we're together, in August doing the
Mhm.
workshop, and you're kind of, showing me around, and I mean, I've got a big old chubby just looking at this farm. I mean, it is just
Yeah.
the
So from
things that
August
like food plot pictures are made of. Like it's just
yeah, it was pretty good.
outstanding. I'm
Yeah, I put a lot
excited
of work
to,
into it.
yeah,
I'm
excited
I'm
to
a big
get there
fan
at some point.
I'm a big fan of, Whitetail Institute. I mean, they've been doing it, I think if not the longest, close to the longest, and they've got a lot of research they put into products. Are pretty phenomenal. So from August 6th until about the 30th, yeah, 30th, I would get his picture, but almost exclusively on the east northeast part of the farm, because on that part of the farm, it borders next to the neighbors to the north, and there's this ridge that runs maybe 700-800 yards, and like that was part of his summer range, and I know that because of pictures and then drone footage from the previous summer. Like that's where he hung out.
Hmm.
So as long as I knew he was local, he was alive, I have food plots on the east northeast corner and then the south southwest corner of this farm, and it's traversed on the east and the south edge by this creek that runs the whole length of the property, right? So he has food, water, cover, and he was comfortable. And I'm not in there, of course. There's no reason to be in there. But I was watching and filming on my days off, here and there with the drone, just getting some footage, just having fun with it. Just knowing that he was there. But he was hitting the mineral site, 30-06 mineral. And then he was hitting my turnip and clover plots on the east. But that's not the place to get them, because in the first part of the season, you have east southeast and south southwest winds, and it sets up more for like mid October or later. Just like the lay of the land, if you see it, like you would know right away. I mean, it's not set up for early season, and so I needed for him to move from that part of the farm to the south southwest. And once he did, in late August, early September, it's like, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong. Now I've got him pinned, and he's doing the same exact thing that he did the year before, and it was time for me to get excited at that point.
Yeah, he was getting very predictable. It was just like almost every other day, like you'd send me some pictures and you'd be like, "Oh," I'm like, "Dude, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen." Like,
Yeah.
so season opened what this year in Kentucky,
6th.
September 6th, a little bit later than normal.
Yep. So on the 6th, I went out opening day, didn't see him, but I got him on camera the 4th, the 5th, the 8th, the 10th, and the 11th. It's just like the 6th and 7th though. No, the 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. But the season opened on the 6th, and of course I didn't see him on the 6th. Uh, And Sunday was the 7th, couldn't go. Monday, I couldn't hunt after work. I'm a chiropractor, so patients until about 5:45. I run home, eat dinner. I went out there with the drone, and I get him on camera, right? And I filmed him for probably 30 minutes. Went out on the 9th, and now going back to a few days before the 9th, um, I was filming him, and I watched him like spar 2 bucks and kick off another 2 different bucks, so 4 bucks from the turnip and the bean plot. So like they'd come in and feed, he'd turn around, he'd stop feeding. This one clip, he's got a mouthful of turnips. Okay, he drops it and then runs across the beans and chases this like he's probably like 17, 18-inch wide 8 point, no 9 point, and he just pushes them right off the field like it's October 28th or whatever, late pre-rut. Just aggressive. So like now and that's worth mentioning because on September 9th, I had the general idea where he was. I didn't know exactly, but I started to hunt a good 250 yards away from that plot. I wanted to, again, like the spokes of a wheel, hunt from the outside in and not get too close to where I know he's bedding, just to observe. And I was going to rattle. And I did. At 6 o'clock at night, I took my little rattle bag, Ash Custom Call rattle bag. I just kind of lightly tickled it, put it away. And about 2.5 minutes later, I'm looking back behind me, and there he steps out with another like little 6 point. And he's just trashing this bush. And I swing the camera arm on. I get some footage of him for maybe 90 seconds, and he ducks back in the drainage and he's coming. And then all of a sudden, about a minute and a half later, I hear country music. I'm like, what the hell is country? It's getting louder and louder. And about 150 yards behind me, up on top of the hill where the landowner lives, I hear this Amazon delivery guy. He's got this van and he's blaring country music. I'm like, really? This is happening. No, this is happening right now, loud. And he opens a sliding door, and he's singing, and he walks up to the back door of the guy's house, drops off his package, slams the door of the Amazon van, drives down. Okay. And I'm like, really? Suffice to say, he doesn't show up. So I wait 45 minutes and I climb down and I walk past one of my traditional cameras overlooking a little quarter acre turnip plot that I was sitting on the edge of. And I was sitting on the edge of that because the night before I filmed him with the drone going right past that spot about an hour and a half before the end of legal shooting. That's why I was hunting there. Well, he was maybe 180 yards north of me, and that's where I saw him after rattling. He came popping out of that drainage, and the route that he's been taking, he was always going westbound, right? So I was like, okay, the wind's out of the south southwest. This is perfect. I still have about 90 minutes left to legal shoot, and I get down, and I decided to work my way towards the creek, wade across the creek, and I slipped up in another stand on the downwind on the far east northeast corner of my clover and soybean plot. And I ended up seeing, I think, 16 or 17 deer that night, including a buck I call Hook, 150-inch class, velvet, beautiful, tall, 8 point. Um, and tough deer to pass up, but easier to pass up knowing that,
Yeah, much
Mr. Big is
easier to
on the
pass a
farm.
deer like that
Yeah, yeah, right?
when you're hunting a giant. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I saw like 6 or 7 bucks on camera that night, and about 12, 13 does, whatever, but he didn't show. Well, the next day, he would end up showing on my camera, I think 6 or 7 minutes after I left. Of course, he showed up. Now, remember, first week of September, it was really hot. It wasn't warm. It was flat up. It was 90s, right? It was 90s. It was just like unbearable. But I knew that I was going to go back out on the 11th, which is Thursday. And so going back, like, gosh, 2.5 weeks prior, I didn't schedule any patients on Thursday, the 11th, because I knew it was the first day of the red moon and I was going to have an east northeast wind. And so that's the night that I killed him.
Yeah, you and I
But
were
on
both
paper,
talking about it, and I think like that night, that was the time where you had like kind of got out of your stand and almost made like a stalk over to where he was, right?
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you
But
were
like
like
on paper, I mean, a
you
lot of
thought for sure
people,
you were gonna call him right to you, like
yeah, yeah.
that
I mean,
evening.
I probably would have had him within probably 35. It was going to, I had an opening about 30, 35 yards. And he was coming towards that opening and then just never popped back out of the drainage because Mr. Amazon guy, playing,
Right.
Tim McGraw, whatever in the driveway. It's like, great. This is awesome. I want to
Yeah.
kill you. Um, so
Yeah, the
pissed.
joys of hunting near houses sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really interesting to me, like that deer, like were you hunting an area that you felt like he was in a cooler area down there? Like, was he near a bottom, or did that not play into a factor with this one? Was he just betting on a hillside for visual like confirmation to like try to see
So
somebody coming or what?
So no, he was in a drainage in the bottom. There's a drainage that feeds into the creek, and where the drainage forms like this T intersection on the west corner of my food plot. There's um there's a tree line, and then between that tree line and my plot is about 5 or 6 acres of native grasses, and I leave it like that instead of mowing it all because I want the pollinators, I want the habitat for the quail and the turkeys, and the bedding habitat for the deer, and by having like tall native grasses that are sandwiched between like the hardwoods and where your food plot is, it's just a natural. They just feel so comfortable easing from hardwoods instead of stepping from a hard delineated edge from like hardwoods to an open field. They feel
That soft
invisible. They
edge.
feel
Yeah.
they feel
Yeah.
invisible, like
a hundred
invincible.
percent. I noticed,
Yeah.
especially with our property here. It's like
Yeah.
we've got, what would be a food plot, but it was overgrown CRP. And God, like, I don't think I've ever hunted there and not had deer out in that CRP, no matter what time of the day it is. They just
Yeah, yeah.
love it. And they
So, I
naturally
mean,
just feel that cover kind of. So it's taught me a lot.
yeah, so, like, every 2 years, I take the farmer's, Kubota and the bush hog, and I knock it back. Not every year, but every other year, I mow it down to, like, maybe 8 inches, and otherwise, it gets full with too many little saplings, and, you wait 3, 4 years, you get little saplings popping up, and the briars get bad, and it's even almost too thick for them to walk through. But about every other year I mow it, right? And it keeps the native grasses in there. And so like by the time we get to August, that stuff is 6 to 9 feet high because the
Hmm.
soil is all creek bottom. So it's like two and a
Yeah.
half feet of jet black topsoil, right?
Right.
And it's just
Really
like
good.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, but like I've got 5 to 6 acres in the shape of an L, and there's reasons for that. Every property lays out differently, but I want to not just have one big square or a rectangle shape for a food plot, but a lot of edges. So the deer can't quite see from one end of the plot to the other. Like they
Mhm.
have, like there's at
Yeah.
least one corner, right?
Makes them move more. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And then doe family groups, are actually it's stressful when does are in a field and they can see from one end of a food source to the other, and they can see other family groups. It actually is stressful. Like it's just as stressful as it is them looking out and keeping an eye out for coyotes in the background. Like it's if you have a plot that's broken up into little sections like this, and broken up by strips of native grasses or like curves and turns, you can have more deer in a smaller area that will tolerate because they don't have that anxiety. They're not seeing and,
Right.
and watching other groups, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But so in this food plot, I had this mowed strip with a bush hog in like early August, and from that southwest corner of that tree line, it's about 20 acres of timber. From the stand that I have, I want to have nice, good pre-roll as he's coming out for filming because I'm self-filming. And it worked like a charm. He was the last deer, I think, of 18 or 20 or something, like between 18 and 20 total deer. I think 5 bucks that night. He was the last deer to show up, but he used that mowed trail. And so the pre-roll of him coming in for 7 minutes from the edge of the bedding cover through that tall native grass patch all the way into the food plot was just epic. But on paper, a lot of people would not have hunted that day because it was 90 degrees, which is unbearable. It's just hot. And if you don't have a waterway you have a creek or drainage that actually has water in it where you can soak your shirt and then wring it out and keep cool, like that's exactly what I did, by the way.
Mhm.
It's just you're sweating. It's just, even if you go slow, it's not comfortable. But I went because I had the right wind and I had the red moon. And for I think 4 of the last 7 days prior, he was daylighting in that plot. So my comfort is of no concern to me. I don't care if it's hot or it's too
No,
cold. Like I'm gonna
and it
I'm gonna hunt accordingly.
the timing was right. Yeah.
The timing was right,
Yeah.
and I zipped in instead of walking. It's like 700-yard walk from the farmer's garage where I parked the truck. So I'm not gonna walk through those native fields and leave scent. So I take the e-bike, uh, tuck it up against a really steep embankment along the creek that deer avoid, and then walked upriver about 90 yards, tucked in a stand, got up in there, turned the ozonics on, sprayed down. And then about every 30 minutes or so, I'd spray some of that raw calming scent in the air. And it worked like a charm. Like, it was perfect. And I wasn't giving him exactly the wind from like north to south, but we had like an east northeast wind kind of blowing from my left shoulder as I'm in the stand, my lone wolf facing south. My scent was blowing from my left shoulder off to the right, kind of between where he was coming from and where I was perched in the stand. So he felt comfortable, as all the other deer did as well. It's not blowing directly at him, but kind of in between us, right?
Giving them that
So
off
it was
wind.
it was perfect. It was
Mhm.
perfect. Yeah.
Alright.
And
Come on. Get into it. Get
yeah,
into
so
it.
then so about 6 o'clock, gosh, it was like 6 o'clock. The first couple deer came out, some small bucks and does, and then buck I call Hook came out again. And at this point, a week after opening, um, he stripped his velvet. And he was at, I think at one point 15, 16 yards, 17 yards. But I just knew that Mr. Big was going to show up. And a little after 7 o'clock, he did. He comes out. And what's interesting about these big, big bucks is they'll watch and observe, hear and listen and smell. And they'll watch the demeanor of a big 4, 5, 6-year-old doe. They're so smart because they don't have the distractions of rising and falling testosterone levels. They're just like,
Right. They're
they're
keyed in.
steadfast 12 months out of the year. And like, and that, and the big bucks, they know that like she'd stop and then he'd stop and she'd turn to the left and he'd turn to the left. And it's like he was her mirror the whole time coming in from 200 yards off. And it was a nail biter, 190-inch deer coming in from 200 yards, and for the first, like probably 30 to 45 seconds, felt like my carotids were going to explode out of my neck, just trying to keep it together. Because I mean, like there he is, the buck that you
Yeah.
know I'm
You put
after.
in an entire year's worth of effort for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
exciting.
give me that real quick. Alright. So, you see him. He's walking down that trail that you cut. You know you're gonna get a shot. I think the hardest thing for people to get control of is their emotions when they see their deer that they're after coming their direction, knowing they're going to get a shot. What was that like for you?
It was
Was it
very
different?
intense.
I mean, you've killed many good deer, but
Yeah.
you've never killed a deer like that. Like this is the deer of your dreams.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, there was, after the first minute subsided, luckily, he didn't just pop out 50 yards away, then I had to keep my shit
Right,
together and then pull it off.
right.
Like, I had all that time for him to slowly take his time and ease in. And, I guess filming in person from the previous season, watching him with the drone, like all those encounters, it just felt like I wasn't nearly as nervous as I thought I'd be. Like it's weird, but when you have that many encounters, when you have a lot of encounters with a deer, and you just go through your mind mentally of putting yourself in a place where you're like, I'm going through the motions, and you're visualizing something
Hmm.
before it happens, that helps calm your sympathetic nervous system down, lower your blood
Yeah,
pressure.
I've always
Yeah.
said I feel like, and a lot of people look at me weird when I say that, but self filming has really helped me calm down a lot because it's like it gives my brain something else to kind of focus on. It's like, all right, let's get the footage, let's get him coming in, let's get all right, and then you're kind of in that plan of like, all right, I'm gonna shoot him right here, and then once I get to that point, it's like, all right, you got the ice flowing in your veins,
Yeah.
you're like you go into your mode or whatever your thought process is.
Yeah, so I tell, like, consulting clients all the time, they wanna, like, go from 0 to 60 right away, and it's like, well, you have to crawl before you walk, before you run, before you jump, right? So, having gone through this is my 35th year in the world of bow hunting. I've killed over 100 deer, 77 with the bow, like, I've gone through it a lot. It's not like I'm not trying to brag, whatever, but, like, when you've gone through a lot of things, ask a dentist who's been practicing for
Right,
35 years. Do they
right.
get nervous about, like, doing a massive No, because 'cause they've done the surgery 300 times already. It's just like muscle memory kicks in, and you're very successful too. Like, tell someone who started bow hunting, this last year, it's like you're speaking Mandarin. Like, until you've gone through the motion of shot lots and lots of does, lots of smaller bucks, and then worked your way up, it is almost mentally overwhelming. But have you gone through the muscle? You've developed that muscle memory. It becomes easier to digest in that moment of truth, right? And I've been in martial arts for a long time, and so the discipline of keeping your body under control helps a lot.
Mhm.
There's something to be said about that. And I knew the pressure was up, because I mean, I'm filming for Team 200. I'm filming, and I wanted, this is a bucket list, a self film booner, like, is something that, I set as a goal for myself. And so I just told myself, keep your shit together, buddy. Like, this is just
Mhm.
another deer. You have a lot of history with this animal. And so, like,
Exactly,
those kind of
exactly.
things help. It's like, does that make
Yeah.
sense? So,
No, 100%. I tell
yeah,
people the same thing. It's like
yeah,
there's a time to freak out and there's a time to lock in, and it's like that fight or flight response, and you either have it or you don't. And the only way to get good at it is to put yourself in front of big deer.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, not everybody has that luxury to do that several times in a season. Um, but that's the only way you're going to get over that hurdle, is by doing that. And like you said, shooting does and stuff. And it's like, all right, it's just another deer. Pick your spot and execute.
Yeah, I
So
mean, there's something to be said. I mean, I enjoy, and I get, my heart starts pounding, believe it or not, almost as much as shooting a big 3, 4, 5-year-old doe. Um, Anticipating the shot, having a plan coming together. It's exciting, right? But going
absolutely.
through that muscle memory so that you don't have to think about the mechanics of the actual shot itself has like with martial arts, thinking slows you down and gets you into trouble. You can get hurt. So you have to practice, like Adam Hayes says all the time, don't practice enough until you get it right. Practice so often until you can't get it wrong. And if you're thinking about something, then you haven't practiced enough. So it has to be subconscious. When you shoot a deer, it could be a doe, it doesn't matter, and you don't remember executing the standing up,
No, yeah.
operating the camera, the
It's
shoot.
like what
It
just happened. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you're not even thinking about it. So until you've done something long enough, that won't happen. So that's why I tell people all the time,
Yeah.
like,
And
go
the
out there and
confidence.
shoot. A lot of deer,
I
does,
said
small bucks.
this to a friend the other day. Hopefully he's listening. That he's been having a hard struggle this year with just stuff happening, like just stuff that happens to all of us bow hunters at some point in our career, and been having some mishaps and stuff. And I'm like, you got to get your mental game together. I was like, I know for me, I related it to motocross. I would never go hit a giant jump on my dirt bike and think about crashing. It was like
Oh,
the
yeah.
last thing in my mind. Like, I'm not going to hit the face of this jump wide open and
Right.
be thinking about crashing. No, it's like,
Because then you will crash.
I'm exactly. It's like, I'm going to do this. And you just don't let off. You can't like go up and be like, oh, no, I'm kind of timid. No, it's like you send it. And I've just applied that same process to deer hunting. It's like, there's no, there's no coming back there. You're going to do this and you're going to see it through. And
That that's so amazing, and that's so important what you just said. I mean, having gone through another intense sport like motocross or martial arts, boxing, things like that, it's different, but it's not. It's all the same. It's the mental preparation, getting your psyche, in order, getting your body, being in as good a shape physically, so you can control your blood pressure, your heart rate, your muscles. Right? I mean, you shouldn't be on medication, like, I've talked about this, at the workshop too. I mean, like, you should be medication free. You should be healthy mentally and physically, so when that moment of truth arrives, your body doesn't just fall apart on you, you
right.
know? Yeah.
All right.
So
We're jumping back in. He's
he's coming
walking.
down the road, and
Yeah.
he's at 150, 140, 120, 90, 80, 70, 60. He gets about 50 or so yards, and he flanks and turns 90 degrees to his right. And the grass is about 6 to 9 feet tall. So all you see is his rack just pushing the grass over, like carp in the shallows in a backwater bay. You just see the grass just being pushed over like this as he's walking through. And he's taking a trail that is going to end up dumping out on another food plot I have maybe 85 yards to my left. So I have two turnip plots, and then I have my bean and clover on the east end. And then in the middle is a big, maybe almost an acre of turnips. And then in the far west northwest corner of the plot is this like quarter acre plot section of beans or turnips. And I'm over here on the far west end because we had this east northeast wind. I could not sit up on the east end because my sent me blowing across the food plot the whole night. So that's why I'm over here. Well, he turns like he's 55 yards or whatever, and he turns and flanks to his right, and now I just see the grass moving. I'm like, no, you don't. So he gets about maybe 45 yards out. I hit him with the grunt call really loud. I get his attention, and you see the grass kind of move with his rack. And I hit him again, and he turns and he's like, "Who's that?" And you can visualize him thinking in the grass, like, "Bill, is that you?" And he's like, "Here he comes." He's at 45, 40, 35, 30. He gets about 28 to 30 yards, and now I can see his rack, because the grass, again, is 6 to 9 feet high. He gets to like sub 30, and I can see parts of his head and his rack at times. And then when he gets to like 25, 26, now I'm filming all this. I can see his face pretty clear. And then he steps out, and he comes out at about 27, 26, 25. Then he turns, and he turns to his left, and he's at 21. I just got done ranging it, and I had my spot hog sight set at 30. Well, I had to reposition that because I'm like, shit, he's gonna be at 21, because there's this little strip where it's like there's a wall of some weeds like halfway from the tree line to the edge of the plot, and that's 21. So I moved it down to 20. I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen at 20. This is perfect. So I pan over to the right, come to full draw, and I bleated to him with my voice, and he didn't stop. I bleated a second time louder. He stopped right to the heart. And it hit the opposite leg, did not pass through, but the arrow went through both. It was a pass through the heart, but hit his opposite leg, and so I could see him running off with the arrow. But I'm like, yeah, I knew he was done.
You ain't
So
taking that. Yeah.
nah, he's done. And
Yeah.
so I put the arrow on the bow hanger, and I get back on him. And as he's running, his tail does that really rapid twitch where his
Yeah.
body's kind of like
Like when
he's going
they're
to
like,
fall
oh,
over.
yeah,
He's about 75, 80 yards, and he stops for a second. And then, before they have that death lunge, where they stop at about, sub
they're like,
100.
okay, what's my next
Where do I
move?
go?
Yeah.
Right. And he
Yeah.
jerks and turns to his left, and he tipped over just out of frame because I'm in my shagbark hickory tree, and there's three trunks. and they have big leaves, as you know, and big branches. And out in front of me, about 10 feet out, this branch comes out and it bifurcates, and there's leaves everywhere. So right in line with where he tipped over is that branch with all those leaves. So I didn't know 100% that he was there, and died and didn't turn and make it to the tree line, the opposite, the 20-acre patch of woods on the south end of the plot. So, I get off, I zoom out, I call my wife, and I tell her the news, and she's like, "Oh, yeah," I'm excited. And then then I get more excited when it's done, and I'm like,
Right.
"Was that a good hit? Was it not?"
Right.
Like, now my
Yeah.
body can do, like, an emotional and physical just
Dump.
dump, and I
Yeah.
can just, and
Uh-huh.
now the emotions come out, right? And what I
Right.
just did. So, and then, like, this is September 11th, so there's the emotions, like, just remembering September 11th, and then, like, the day before Charlie Kirk was shot, and so, like, I'm thinking of all this stuff, and the emotions of all of this, just, like, I start crying, like, a little bit, like, I'm just, it's
Yeah.
heavy, it's a lot, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so then I keep my composure, I finish my post-hunt interview, whatever, and I get down and I look for the arrow, and I don't have the arrow. I don't find the arrow, but I'm like, "Okay," so I go back and I replay, it's like, "Okay, what's still in them?" So I get down, and then I get in the creek, and I walk back to where the e-bike is, and I zip back around, and, I call my buddy, Brett, and about 90 minutes later, we're out there looking, and after about 10 minutes, I said, "This deer is in here, but, like, let's just get out, because it's like, when you walk with a flashlight in 6 to 8 foot, 9 foot grass, like, it's like a
Right.
wall. You can't really see, you know? So I said, "I'll just come back in the morning, and, I'll just fly the drone over the field," and, like, he died within 4 to 5 steps of where we gave up. Like, he was
Right.
right there, but you can't see. The grass is like, it's
No, I
tall as a
know. I know
bedroom,
what you mean. Yeah.
But, yeah, so I'm gonna show the sheds here again. I'll show you the actual rack of what he turned into. So here's the sheds for comparison, okay, right here.
And what did the sheds tape out at last year?
157,
Yeah. Phenomenal.
and they're,
Goes to show like how much mass really helps like a score too,
so
And
here's
then
the sorry, I'm on the ground here.
yeah,
So here's his, sheds.
yeah. And how wide was he, would you say there?
About 22,
22?
okay,
Yeah.
22, and then,
My God.
uh,
Oh.
I can't,
and
yeah.
and he has got one of the coolest racks that I've seen as far as like the way he's laid out is just so different. I mean, he's basically like just a mega 8-pointer almost, but
Yeah, so
he's
he's a
got
5
like
by 49.
yeah, he is a 9, but like when you look at him at first, it almost is like, what do you got there? Because the way his
Yeah.
main beams are flared out, like, I mean, God, he's just, and his brow on that left side is just
So I wanna show you this right
outrageous.
here.
Yeah.
So on his brow from last year, you can tell he wanted to grow,
Yeah.
you know,
Ric Flair wanted to throw that
like
thing out there.
3 little points there, and then
Hmm.
see that right there? What he turned
Yep.
into is just night and day.
And it's so
But yeah,
cool
these
his
beams are,
G4, how it did that too. I've never seen
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. His beams are 27, plus. As he's 7.5 here at the base. He's 6 and I think 6/8 here on the right. He has let's see, 2. This third circumference is 6, and this fourth circumference is 7. Believe it or not.
Yeah. No, I believe it. I can see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man,
So
it's outstanding, dude. What did that one long G4 measure out at?
about 11.
11? Yeah. Just super wild how he flared out like that, man. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and it took
Deer of
me,
a lifetime right there. I can't wait to
yes.
see the mount. He's gonna look awesome, dude.
I'm gonna put on a bourbon barrel.
Yeah. No, I know. We've been talking back and forth with that. I can't wait to see him on there. It's gonna look awesome.
One more thing I wanted to mention. So this is a little side note. To be able to put the store together, have the sheds, find the sheds of your target. It's so hard to be patient. I mean, for me as well. I mean, it's like patience is a virtue, man. This other buck that was running with him was a buck I called Disciple, and by comparison, he's not impressive, but he's a beautiful um, mainframe 8. Okay, I call him Disciple, and he dropped um, before Coke Can did. And the temptation to want to go into your property and find those other sheds of another deer that's, comparable, just because you know that they're on the ground, is hard not to do. Like, you want to go in there and do that, but you can't, because if you do, there's a very, very good chance your target is gonna drop somewhere else, and you're not gonna find
Right.
you're not gonna find him.
Right.
And will that affect, how he uses that sanctuary? And is it now considered a sanctuary if you're in there bumping him too often? Shed hunting, I mean, February, March, it's not gonna affect your following
Yeah.
upcoming season, but you won't be able to put all the pieces of the puzzle for that story if you just if you're just a week or 2 t in those areas too early, and yeah, it's just worth mentioning, like, stay out of those,
It
sanctuaries,
is.
till
It is, man. I agree with you. It's such a hard thing, especially like I think you're at a big advantage where you are being able to monitor these deer that way and like, really be able to be up to date with what's going on with them. But I know for me, I've always been huge on staying out until like the first week of March. Unless like I had a huge deer that I know for sure I watched him drop. And I think here in Iowa, I'm probably whenever season wraps up, I think I actually am going to put some corn out because that is illegal here. And that way maybe I can help myself find some more sheds in here and just put them out near the CRP where I got good cover and Lord willing, turn some sheds up. There is gobs of great 2 and 3 year old deer that I'm excited to.
You've shown me those
You know,
pictures, man. You got some big
we've
like, a
we've
lot of
got.
up and comers.
You can really see the effects of EHD here, man. It's just outrageous to me. Like very few big mature deer, but God, there's so many nice 2 and 3 year old deer and 4 year olds. It's like, please God, let them get through this gun season. you know. I got so many like really cool deer that I hope that other people share the same mindset as me. It's like such a stressful thing to go through with like you're passing so many good deer and you're like, I hope my neighbors are on the same page. I just don't know. So we'll see.
Man, that is everything because it's really hard. If your neighbors are good friends and you communicate and in an ideal situation, you know the neighbors, you talk, you guys have similar management goals. It's really hard to push your discipline and your goals and your long-term planning, ideas on like you can. Let's say it's
It's
right?
yeah, and it's also tough too because you almost like there's another factor of it that I don't want to tell these people like what's going on and what I'm trying to let go and what's going on because it might be like, oh well, in the back of their head, like I'm killing that deer that you're letting walk, like, and it's a catch-22. It's like you almost like just want to stay under the radar, but I also have that like want to see what's going on. It's like, whatever. Time will play that out, that scenario, but
Yeah.
you know, I do want to get into. I was really excited to have you join me because I really wanted to get into some good late season tactics if we can like kind of power through a few of them. For you especially with access, I know any of you guys that are avid listeners know we did a great episode on access. If you haven't listened to it, I suggest you go check it out. It's really, really valuable. But what kind of changes for you? You've got your Ohio tag. Obviously, Kentucky's out of you're tagged out there. But what are some of your strategies that you've keyed in on? For December hunting specifically.
Well, again, they are a slave to their stomach. In August, September, they're putting on the feed bag pretty heavy in preparation, and September, end of September for the rut. And then after they have no choice but to try to put on to replenish that 20-25% up to 25% body loss, from the rigors of the ruts, right? So you have to find food like standing beans, standing corn, outside, inside corners of ag fields where the combine missed, and you'll know that by talking to farmers. Um, Honey locust, they love honey locust, honey
Yeah, and
locust.
there's tons of it here in Iowa. It's
Yep,
everywhere.
honey locusts are good. It's it's a treat. Yeah, it's a candy
Hmm.
treat for them. And where those honey locusts meet beans, or where the honey locust meets, standing corn, if the if it was wet for prolonged periods of time and the farmer couldn't get to it, or if you could have a relationship with the farmer, say, look, can you leave 4 or 5 rows in this northwest corner, for example, right?
Hmm.
Can I pay you for what you would make had you combine? Can you leave a certain amount? That'll really help. But you want to find, just like in the early season, where's the water, where's the thermal cover, and where's the food. If you can find all that, all those boxes can be checked in a small area, like 80 acres, let's say 75, 80 acres or less. Um, you know, now it's difficult because um, the canopy is pretty open, right? It's and you have a lot of eyes and ears concentrated in a small area. And yes, they're easy to pattern, they're easy to observe, but you have to wait until the conditions are absolutely perfect. So it's easy, but it's also very difficult too.
Yeah.
Early season, you can get away with hunting in a tree that's 6, 7, 8 inches in diameter if it has enough leaves, right? But you can't do that in January. You're gonna stick out like a turd in a punch bowl. So it's all about access. I love using any type of steep terrain, drainages or creeks. You have to use that for cover. If the drainages and creeks are really close to an open ag field or close to a food plot, you can actually hunt close to that food source. Okay. And then if you have to just only take a few steps and you can drop down a bank to get out, those are the type of stands that you can hunt repeatedly until that big boy steps within bow range, and then you can make
Yeah.
it happen. But you
I
want to
know.
have food and you want to have thermal cover
Right, right. And
close to the food.
explain
That's
that,
what you need.
like, because I think some people get that a little bit construed. Are you referring to like good cedar thickets and stuff like that?
Cedar thickets, but then also, and not necessarily, there's a lot of people pushing like the switchgrass. Switchgrass is a monoculture. There's no food in switchgrass, and it doesn't provide as much thermal cover as you think. But if you have thick stands of native grasses and that interlaced with cedar thickets, yes, that's huge. Or even if the woods is like not necessarily the thickest, but there's some hills to it, so you can get away from the wind. So the
Mhm.
terrain itself acts as a barrier to the wind, which keeps them warmer on the south facing slopes. Okay, any
Right.
south, southeast, southwest facing slopes, that alone will be a really, really good spot for late season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I was kind of hoping you would get into.
yeah.
I know a lot of the success I've had in late season. I've killed actually a few really good deer in morning hunts in December. I feel like you can get away with a little bit more access in the morning, where you're not getting seen. But it's definitely it's a fine line. It's a different style of hunting. It's for me, I find it a lot more difficult sometimes for access because of noise.
Hmm.
One of my big things I like to kind of tell people to key in on is like try and maybe not to go as aggressive on a quiet morning, or like try to get like a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind in the morning if you're going to go in for a longer jaunt to go into some hardwoods or something like that where you can get away with a little bit more. But it's definitely a different thing. And the biggest thing I want you guys to try to key on is not skylining yourself. I know a lot of you guys are big listeners of Cody DeQuisto and hunting really low. And I do believe the later the season gets that it is good to hunt low, but you need to be careful with it too at the same time, because it's easier for these deer to pick you off your movements. But try to focus on getting right there where, like, say you got a briar patch and you can hunt right at the upper three quarters of it. So you're getting that little bit of cover. But the higher you go to hunt, and depending on who you talk to, some people are going to tell you to hunt high. But I've had so many deer pick me out, even from coming to full draw and having the deer just skyline you without movement. Like it's just easier for them to pinpoint you, and pick up on that unnatural, silhouette of your body. So play that into your game strategy here moving forward, is making sure your stands, or if you have a trail that you have in mind of, go on that trail and look up into the trees where you could be and figure out where you can get away with it. I know Kentucky especially, there's tons and tons of random cedar trees. That's what I always focused on, was trying to get in an oak tree where I'd have good. That's how I killed my buck last year. It was like today, actually, November 30th. um so it's just something to think about, like use your terrain to your advantage and try to get in on these late season food areas. And really, like this next week, especially, I have had the best success hunting doe bedding. So
Hmm.
it's something else to kind of play in there. I mean, is there anything else you can think of, as far other than food sources, or maybe let's switch it over to like public land hunting, like where you've got bigger stands of timber and stuff like that.
Well,
Um,
public is in a lot of ways easier to hunt than private, especially if your private is, let's say, less than 80 acres, right? Because you make too many mistakes on a small tract of private. You can have all the food, water, cover you want, but if you over tap the same well too often, and you bump them, it's not like you can go 3 or 4 ridges over and get back on that deer like you can on public. Like you're done. Okay, so yeah, cedar trees though are your friend, or big trees where there's like 3 or even 4 trunks coming out of the
right.
same base, okay?
Yeah.
I will hunt late season. I've got a tree that doesn't have any leaves on it right now, but there's 5 trunks that come out from the same base, and it's right on the edge of the food source. Now, I don't normally do advocate that, especially in late season, but when you have multiple trunks or a cedar tree, you can get away literally with murder. But with public though, I mean, um, yeah, use the terrain, especially any steep or hilly terrain to your advantage to get in. I prefer myself in the late season. I almost exclusively hunt in the late season in the evening because I know that by, if I walk in at 1 or 2 o'clock, right, and I'm going to hunt until dark, I know those deer. I know where they are, especially if there's snow and I've done some scout. I know where they're bedding, and they're on their bed. Now, if there's a high pressure system, it's a red moon, okay, and it's cold, it's right after a cold front came through and it's calm, like they're gonna be moving like crazy the next day. They're gonna be on their feet early. So I want to be in the stand by like 1 o'clock,
Right.
1:30.
Right.
But I take my time and still hunt my way in. Like I know there's a deer just over the hill. I walk with that intent, like, okay, I'm not just gonna walk in. I'm gonna still hunt my way into that spot because there's so little room for error in the late season because they've been
There
hunting
is.
for 3 months, right?
Right.
So you gotta be really careful.
Yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. It's something else, I learned that at a younger age from one of my friends I respected a lot. And I never took the time walking in, and I got to hunt with him in late season. I killed a buck, and how methodical he walked through the woods really just like ingrained in me at a younger age. Like, okay, we're not just walking through the woods, we're still hunting our way through the woods. And you can get to see a whole lot more stuff before that deer bumps out of there. They're going to stand up and look. And a lot of times you can almost soft bump them where you can let them walk off and keep on your track that you're going to.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I mean, I also I love what you said with like the public and having more areas. Cause in my opinion, if you find a big deer in late season, you've got a really good chance of killing him, especially on
Uh-huh.
public, because it's like, okay, I'm in your wheelhouse now, and their core area is a lot smaller. From what I've learned, it's like they're doing things, they're more patternable. Now they're a slave to their stomach. It's like it's all about you figuring out where he's going and what he's eating, and you can get him killed. So do
Yeah,
your due diligence
when I
and
was young, I was
find
like
them.
junior high, even early high school. I was already starting to knock down a bunch of deer, and my dad has been hunting for 60 years. And no disrespect, I love my dad. He's an accomplished hunter. His house is full of stuff from grizzly bear to elk, caribou, mountain lion. I mean, he's got but all with the gun. And so he said when I was young, he goes, "Man, I've got a patient of mine. He only hunts from the ground. He doesn't own a tree stand, and he only hunts public."
Hmm.
And so there was 2 counties west of where we used to live. There's a huge tract of public, and a lot of forest cropland, a lot of paper mills come in there, and every 2 3 years they'd rotate and clear cut certain hillsides, and within 3 years it's like this ocean of fresh browse, and he would still hunt through there with the bow, and every year he'd kill a big deer. And I hunted with him a couple seasons, and I learned. I was blown away by this guy because he was like the modern day Fred Bear. He was so good, and he would walk, and I was like 10 minutes into following him, like, he'd never make any noise. He would
Right.
just pick apart how he'd walk. He's
Yeah.
like a bobcat.
And you take it for granted now, like, cause it's
He was
just part of
incredible.
your MO. But like,
It
yeah,
was
when
such
you can't,
intention, and so
hmm
I bring that up because, if you wanna get good as a fighter, you fight with someone who is taller, faster, smarter, more experienced, and would put the hurt to you. And that's Payne's a good teacher. That's how you would learn, keep your hands up, move, okay? And I wanna get better as a hunter. I'd follow this guy, and, he forgot more, than most people would ever know, and I just was blown away by this guy. He would never make noise, the way he'd read sign, and he wouldn't get excited about rubs and scrapes very much, which I found at the time weird, right? Because everything you read magazines and watch on DVDs at the time, like, well, look at all this, they emphasize sign and all this, and he's like, "Yeah, that's great," but he was already here. He made it. Like, he hunted terrain, and the way he would walk through and use terrain to his advantage was mind blowing. So I bring that up just to say, just in general, just to paint with a broad brush, hunt with someone who's better than you, because that's how you learn. That's how I learned.
Hmm.
But it's worth mentioning,
Absolutely.
whether you're hunting public or private.
Right. Yeah, and to kind of touch on that, man, the buddy system in late season could be a really, really good tactic, hunting together and breaking down places. Whether you're scouting a big area with somebody, it's like, all right, let's divide and conquer. And then when one of your friends, generally, once you find those spots, they're producing. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to find more than one good deer in there. I
Oh,
mean, it's
what you
like,
just said.
go ahead.
Go ahead. What you just said made me. It just reminded me of something. When you're bass fishing, right, and you get a big 7, 8, 9 pound largemouth, and you take that female off that bed. That area was good for a reason, and then
Right.
other big fish will end up take. So, like,
Yeah.
same thing with deer. When you have an area that has the great wind advantage, great visual advantage, food, water cover, like, and the dominant buck will take residence there. There's a reason, right? And he'll defend that area, and like, that's his. And then you move that big deer. Another buck is going to use that same area, barring any unforeseen massive change of the terrain. It gets subdivided or a road gets built through the property. Okay, that aside, every year that spot is good for a reason, and you need to take advantage and watch what the previous 2 or 3 mature bucks that you took off that area did, because other deer, just like other bass, are going to use that same area again. And so,
100%. No, and
worth mentioning.
I think that's something that I really want you guys to focus on too. Is like, okay, so you're out there, you're scouting, you see a big deer, you bump him, go directly to that deer's bed, and I want you to sit in it and look, because there is no better way to learn how to pinpoint. Because, like, I know you and I both can look at a map and we can say, all right, I would bed here, here, here. Let's say we put 5 pins on a aerial map of like 100 acres of like hill country. I guarantee you 2 or 3 out of those 5 dots, there's going to be a buck in there, like, that we can put on the map. And the only reason that me and Sean both understand that is from the amount of time we've spent in the woods and just understanding what big deer want in as far as a bed and visual and scent and everything else that goes into this. And the more that you can wrap your head around why a big deer is doing what he's doing, especially in late season, they really, really key in on this stuff in late season because they can see so much more. It'll make more sense to you. It's like one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that clicked for me at a younger age, doing so much shed hunting, because I was always bumping bucks and I was always trying to like understand why. And then, like, I would bump a deer, like one of my favorite deer I ever killed. I called him Splits. He was like a 150 with a split in Maryland. Bumped him out of his bed, went back there 3 weeks later, found his shed laying in that bed, went back to that bed in the summertime. The buck's still using the same exact bed. It was just no matter what. And even after I killed him, I went back in there the following year. Another big buck took over his exact same bedding area.
Uh-huh.
It was just the textbook pinpoint location on a ridge. And to your point, it's like the more things that you guys go through and you understand, like, why is he here? It'll make so much more sense for when you go onto new ground. You're like, okay, before I crest up over this ridge, I want my binos up. Like, I want to be able to visually, you can pop up with your binos, like a groundhog, and start glassing around that way. And if you're more methodical that way, I guarantee you it's going to up your game. So, something to think about. It's not going to be a 100% thing every time. I'm not trying to make it sound like that. There's never a always, and there's never a never, but it will definitely help your success rate go up as far as being able to get on more big deer. And
Yeah, and I always tell people, learn as much as you can by reading about the whitetail, and especially the whitetail in your area. Like, Alabama whitetails are going to bed and feed and use different areas for mineral sites and access to food sources than, Northwest Iowa, right? It's just they're the same, but they're not. Like the terrain varies, and if you have snow, like that's huge because now you have the visual. You know where the
Right.
trails converge,
That's right.
like the spokes of a wheel. You see where the
Oh,
doe bedding groups are.
so
Okay,
much easier to identify a buck bed in the snow.
huge, and then
Yeah,
once that snow is gone, it's like you can still find it, but it's a lot more difficult, right? So use snow to your advantage. But yeah, learn as much as you can about the whitetail in general in your area. What species of plants they like to eat. Um, just about their demeanor, their attitude, their preferences for security cover. Like learn as much as you can. Be a steward of the animal, and just learn as much as you can about your quarry. It's going to allow you to harvest that deer that much easier.
absolutely, man. Well, dude, this has been a blast as always. We're kind of wrapping up, trying to keep it around an hour if we can. I got a couple questions for you, a couple little rapid fire questions. If are y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What was your biggest takeaway from harvesting cocan?
Ooh, I wasn't prepared for that one. Using last year's intel to my advantage for this season.
That's it, really. So that's what really added it up for this one. You just had,
Huge,
yeah.
huge.
But now, did you have him in early season too?
Yeah, like on trail camera. I
Okay.
mean, I have, like I said, I have drone footage of him from last August, hundreds of pictures, and I paid attention to what areas on the farm he spent the most amount of time.
Okay.
Like I had one early season stand location on the east northeast corner of the farm, but most of my stand locations were set up for, the west and southwest part of the farm because that's what he did the year before. But like my biggest takeaway was what did he do at like consistently week by week. I mean, having trail cam pictures of deer is exciting. It's great, but I pay attention to the direction of travel when he triggered the cameras and was that consistent
Mm-hmm.
in what part of the farm or what time of the day. I like weather underground, right? You go back and you look at, the precipitation, wind direction, speed, moon phase, look at the moon guide app, like look at, was there a red moon? Like, the moon can control the tides of the oceans for God's sakes, right? Okay. So like
No, we
it
we
has an
both
influence.
yeah, we both talked about that. I think almost everybody in our whitetail workshop killed a deer on the red moon this year. I killed both of mine. So
Yeah, I killed my deer
um
last year on the red moon. My dad killed his on the red moon.
this
You've
isn't a
killed both
sales
of
pitch,
yours
by
this
the
year.
way, just so you know, guys. This is real talk. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
just spitting out the actual facts here. Um
Like
there's a
I'm
lot
under
of
the
disillusion out there, and as far as people, whether you like it or not. I mean, I think I've killed a majority of my deer on a red moon. I've looked back. Me and Sean have talked about this, so
yeah,
there's something there, whether you want to believe it or not.
100%. So I watched an interview that Lee Koski did not too long ago, and he was talking about how um, about 50%, 50 or 51% of all the matured bucks taken registered in the Pope and Young record books. Okay, was during the red moon. I think, well, okay, it's 50-50. No, but like it's a disproportionate number because only a handful of days each month are actually red moon phases. Not the moon phase, but the moon position, right? So the red moon is all about the position of the moon, not the phase. But like if about 50% of the mature bucks are taken during that period, and that period of time is a small percentage
It's
of the
only what,
entire
maybe,
month.
yeah, 10 days out of the month.
So a third, but yet
Right?
50+% of
Yeah,
it are, so that's not coincidence.
at all. Yeah,
So I paid attention to that and then looked at the weather, wind direction. Okay. Most important, wind direction. Where's the wind coming from and where's it going to? And relative to where I expect that deer to bed and where I expect them to feed and the routes I expect them to take to go from bed to feed. There's a lot of planning. So using last year's intel to land the plane here, using last year's intel and looking at what the patterns were from the previous season helped me kill the biggest buck of my life this
right.
year.
Absolutely, man.
It's, it,
No,
it's not coincidence. It's
no.
not coincidence. I also, during that interview, Lee was talking about, he goes, the guy asking him the questions like, what would you do for advice on November and so on and so forth. He said, oh, I would scrap November and
Yeah,
focus on October.
right.
I agree.
Exactly.
Most of my
Yeah.
bucks are taken in September, October, and then December. A small percentage are actually taken, ironically, in November.
I don't know what it is for me, but like I prefer to target like my target buck in the first week of November, like before, because I feel like they go through
But
this
before he starts
soft.
going crazy,
Right. They go through
right?
this little
That's
peak
different.
of right. It's like not full blown rut, but they're moving a little bit more and they become a lot more active. And it's like that the last week of October to the first week of November is hands down my favorite time. So many people are like, oh, that's the rut is this and that. And I'm like, hey man, it just works for me and I ain't changing it if it ain't broken. And
I
it's
also will say, like, about the 16th, 17th, 18th of November until about the 25th of November, so tough, so
yeah,
tough. But
it
that those
is
first 7, 8, 9 days and the
mm-hmm.
last 3, 4, 5 days, okay, that's different.
Phenomenal.
But in the
Yeah.
middle,
Yeah.
that's tough.
All right. Second question. If you could only plant two food plot varieties, what would they be?
Hands down, easy. That's so easy. Um, Turnips and beans.
Turnips and beans. Cool.
Yep. And so you plant the beans, and beans don't have the same allure to raccoons as corn does, right? So the raccoons aren't going to come and crush your bean plot. You have an early season succulent high water content green that they love. And then in the middle of the fall and late season, you can't beat that high crude protein of a soybean. And then in early to mid September, when the leaves are turning yellow, you walk up and down your beans and you plant a brassica, sugar beet, or turnip.
Over
So
top
now
them.
they have
Mhm.
that starch, okay, that high sugary starch in the same plant and the same food plot as a high protein source. You're killing two birds with one stone.
Love it. Love it. I think this year I'm going to probably try to do that and maybe hand spread some beans and just drift over top of them, just till the soil and then do like a throw and grow kind of get some beans in there like that. But
I've seen deer walk through corn to get the beans more often in Iowa than not. I'm telling you,
do you
corn is
think it would hurt not having, them drilled in the ground and having rows? Do you think it would be an issue for them or they would it?
I don't
No.
know.
Okay. All right. Third question. So out of all the deer that you've taken, right? What do you feel like? Do you feel like weather played a bigger factor than the moon did? Because I mean, we just took this deer in 90-degree weather. He was kind of an anomaly, but
No, no. My favorite condition, though, by far, this deer aside, is early season, right after the rain stops with about 45 minutes to an hour left of legal shooting light. High barometer, like the pressure's coming back up. Now the front pass through, the rain stop, and now the barometer's rising. The rain stopped. They're still the, but you cannot beat right after rain, early
yeah,
season on a food source.
yeah,
Um, the wind direction is like everything because deer have to eat 4 or 5 times a day, regardless if it's 90 degrees or it's 10 degrees. It doesn't matter. They have they have four stomachs basically. They're a slave to their stomach, to their gut, whether it's the rut or July. They have to eat about 5 times a day. So find the food, watch the wind, and if there's a red moon, because I mean the weather changes all the time, but the moon is consistent. Like when those red moon phases are going to be. And I don't sound like a commercial. I'm just saying like that's just what I've seen time and time again. It definitely plays a role. So wind direction and yeah, I mean we all like because it's comfortable for hunters, and so that selfishly I think a lot of hunters are just like, oh, I like the cold front because you're not sweating, it's comfortable for you to be in the woods, but it doesn't matter to the deer. They live out there all the time. They're going to eat
exactly.
anyway. So
Yeah,
you just have to, yeah,
having that,
watch the wind direction. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, having that little factor. All right,
Yeah.
last and final one. This one's one of my favorite new questions I wanted to ask you. So, what do you believe is the most important character trait for a hardcore bow hunter to have?
You have to have the right mindset. You have to understand that you could get it done right away, but it could take you 4 months to get it done. And you have to be just as excited and just as motivated. That comes from internal motivation is more powerful than external. You have to want it more than the discomfort of it affecting your mental health, your physical health, your financial health. It does cause stress on your family. These are all things that you understand and respect, but like, how bad do you want it? And is your mindset strong enough and your motivation strong enough to overcome what you know are going to be resistances,
Hmm.
what you know are going to be challenges, but you have to embrace the suck anyway and not just hunt when it's comfortable, but hunt when you need to. And that's not easy. It's a
Comes with
marathon,
time.
not a sprint.
Yeah, that comes with
It's
time.
not easy.
Yeah.
But if it was easy, everybody would have a wall full of big deer, so.
Yep. No, I love it, man. Thank you so much, dude. Really appreciate you joining this one. Is there any plugs you want to throw out there? I really suggest all you guys, if you're not following Sean's YouTube, go on there. Make sure you're checking out his episodes coming up from Team 200. You've got one that already aired from last season, but
Yeah, and
really,
they actually just started uploading all the videos, from last season. For people that missed it on, the Pursuit channel, go to Moon Guide's Team 200. Recent episode aired, I think, a week ago. And then Joe Miles's episode airs, this week on YouTube. There's no rhyme or reason for the order.
okay,
Mine will air, pretty quick here from last season. And then the Hunt for Coke will air next summer on the Pursuit channel. But yeah, but Dave, the producer, had get the green light, and he's now uploading those videos, those hunts on the YouTube channel. But Justin and I are going to be doing another workshop, tentatively scheduled for March 21st. If you're interested, reach out to me on Instagram or just on Instagram to get
we'd love to have you.
information,
This one's
details
going
on
to
that.
be super awesome. We're going to do a
Postseason scouting, yeah.
ton of really good postseason stuff, and also kind of leading into what you should be doing around this time frame to set your farm up for success. Do we have a price set already, or
It's $400. Yeah,
$400? It's going to
less
be
than
a
half what we had last time. Yeah.
one day event. It'll be super fun though. We're going to have a cool little after, maybe not after party, but afterwards hangout, and maybe do some camping. Hopefully the weather's not too bad. Maybe bring a tent and get to hang out with all of us. So if that's something you're interested in, it'll be in Lexington. Reach out to me or reach out to Sean. We'd love to have you. The more the merrier. We do have, I think we're going to cut it at what, maybe like 20, 25.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
We don't want too many
donuts.
people. So
I'm have donuts and coffee for people in the morning. We'll have sandwiches in the middle of the day. For people that, like Justin said, want to stay and then not leave until Sunday because they're driving from Louisiana, whatever. You're gonna want to camp out. You have the place to do that. Yeah, and it's not going to be um, 87 degrees like it was in August, so you won't have the chiggers, ticks, and poison ivy to deal with. So
right,
that's nice. And be
right.
comfortable walking. And
Yep.
we're going to talk about how to hunt terrain features, and how to plan for the upcoming season based on what you saw and observed the previous hunting season, and then kind of learn from your mistakes. And then look for and show what Justin and I look for when we're walking through terrain and using terrain to our advantage, not the deer's advantage, to get close, archery close to that big deer that you're
Yeah.
targeting. So
Tons and tons of good stuff, guys. It's well worth the money. I hope we see you there. Like I said, holler at each of us, whatever you want to do, whoever you're more comfortable with. But Sean, thank you again, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you soon, and we'll catch up with you next time.
thanks for having me, man. As always, it was fun.
Absolutely. I'll see you, man.